it's a bunch of mishbagosh, and we're doing stuff, and we're trying to go with technology, and it's just.
Don't I hear you? Yeah. Yeah. You know, podcasting. How do you say it? Sucks.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
But how many years did it take you to figure that out? Because I've had a podcast for 5.5 years now.
Yeah.
And I think I figured it out at 3 years. You know, but I haven't acted on it yet. I've just understood deep in my soul that it's just, you know what it is? It's like gold mining. The people who sell the picks and shovels make the money.
Oh yeah, because they're always buying them. Yeah. Oh,
right.
with all the new.
Always tell yourself.
Yeah.
That it's just over the next, right? It's over the hill.
Oh yeah. It's just if I just dig a little bit deeper, it's like I'll find the big But it's
right,
like
absolutely.
But it's the guy that's like, nah, man, you need more Carhartt pants. Yeah, you got to get the gloves. You need the thing.
Yeah. It is the world's biggest Ponzi scheme, but there it is. You know, the truth is, you know, when I do my goofy podcast, we have laughs. You know, so maybe it's for people who can't really form a social life any other way. Maybe that's what it is.
Sure. Oh no, I will completely stick around with that and say that there's podcasting is, you know, it's for some people that it's just like the background noise, or they're really trying to find out stuff, and then also it's like this is the way the person gets human contact. You know,
yeah.
Like they need this. We got a couple of those guys on listening on our podcast. He knows who I'm talking about. He's going to kill me one day. He's going to wear my skin, but it's okay. It's okay. He's a nice guy.
That motivates you to keep your skin nice.
Yes.
So
lotion. I'm so excited about this, Paula. All right. So, before we dive into anything, because I want you to talk about your podcast so we can get some promotion out of the way. But, cops, cats, and things.
Cops, and stuff.
I'm sorry. Oh my God. Either way, it's one of the most influential stand-up specials of my life. Me and my sister quote. I mean, so much of it. It's brilliantly funny. It's still I just watched it a few days ago, and it still holds up. It's still great.
Well, thank you.
So this was a real honor. And as a stand-up comic, it's like, you know, I don't think people would ever know that, especially with the style that I do or whatever. But it's like that I'd be such a huge Paula Poundstone fan. But it was the right special at the right time, and just your energy. And what's so great is like sitting down with you and just talking these few minutes. I'm like, oh, you haven't changed. You're still Paula.
My skin is a little more wrinkly, but other than that, yeah, I am pretty much the same person. Come to think of it, no, I've been run over by a truck a couple of times, metaphorically since then, but comedically, I think I'm the same. Because I think one of the things that I've done on stage over these many years, and I think it's been 45 now, is try to be more and more myself. I went through a little phase where I think I was looking for like a hook. Yeah. You know, like, I wanted, I've never, in 45 years, I've never had a big closer, by the way. I've never had the thing where, the crowd is on their feet, and this is how I end my show.
Yeah,
Thank you. Thank you for being here. Good night.
Yeah.
That's my big closer now. And it has been for years, because I could have a joke that in the middle of my set went over really, really well. And so I would think to myself, that's it. That's got to be my big closer.
Yes.
And I would move it to that end slot, and it would just sort of be like, So I had to give up on that dream. The big closer dream and the hook dream, I gave up on them. And instead, years ago, I really started, if I worked at anything, it was just trying to be more and more myself on stage. That's why I'm the same as I was in Cats, Cops, and Stuff. Or is it Cops, Cats? No, it was cats, cuffs, and stuff.
I mean, this the think don't even think about parking here, and it's like, oh, don't worry. I stood there and I thought about it.
Well, the reason that joke still works is because parking has only gotten worse.
Horrible, yeah.
And so then when people have that, they have that joke to think about while they're parking, and it eases the stress a little bit. See, so it's healthy.
Yeah.
Because parking has gotten much, much worse.
Parking has gotten worse. Cops are still there. Cats are still there. Poking at you.
Almost everything has gotten worse.
Everything. It's that's debatable. Is it worse? Is it worse?
Yeah, it is. But that just makes our job more. I remember 1,000 years ago when Clinton won the election the first time. I got a call from CBS asking, like the local CBS, asking if they could come here and interview me. And I was like, yeah, sure, because I had done some, stuff with Clinton. And so, sure, And they came with the questions they wanted to ask me were, is this good for comedy? I was so angry. What do you give a shit if it's good for comedy? What? How about we help the country?
Yeah.
There's an idea.
Yeah.
I said, I really don't need any president. And this includes Trump. I don't need any president to do badly
so we can make fun of it. Yes, exactly.
Thank you. If I have to, I'll just make up stories. I don't mean about the presidents. I just mean funny story.
Sure.
Thank you. Life doesn't have to suck
for us to write gold.
Right. In order for us as a comedic community to be able to have jokes. But we're all very clever.
But can I? But I mean, tell me if I'm wrong, because I always have this new belief that when I was at my most poorest, I was like writing the most amount of material nonstop, and I was, I'm still an open micer at that point, but it was like, I just you would try anything and just all these ideas, like, didn't you? And then as I started getting more success, I'm not saying I rested, but I definitely think that when I was like under stress, there was a lot more, comedy coming out. That you didn't have the same experience?
I don't know if that's my same experience. I know that when I'm, the busier you get as a performer, and this is like second album syndrome in music, which is the busier you get as a performer, the less relatable things I think that you're doing in your life sometimes.
Yeah.
To audiences, like I don't know, no one wants to hear about your negotiations or your, they want to hear stuff about life things that they relate to, and we all have them, but no one wants to hear about, boy, my housekeeper didn't put the vase back the way she was supposed to. Although I will say, years ago, and you're probably too young to know this, but there was a brilliant movie. I think it was one of those Ivory Merchant films. It was called Remains of the Day.
Oh my God, yeah. There was Anthony Hopkins.
Anthony Hopkins played a butler.
Yeah.
And it was Christopher Reeve's house. It was set in was it pre-war?
It was old. It was in that time when all movies that were nominated for Oscars had to be set in the era of like 1922 to about 1950. Even 1950 is too old.
Well, okay. Well, Christopher Reeve played like a rich guy, a powerful guy that was somehow able to be. He wasn't a big character in the movie, but that he was somehow able to be influential in negotiations over World War II. And, but the story centered around the staff in the house, Anthony Hopkins starring as the head butler. And it wasn't until I saw that film that I realized I needed a separate person to do my brass. He had like not only a housekeeping staff, but there was like one individual that did the brass. I'm kidding.
A dedicated brass man.
Yeah. Okay. Wait. All right. You know, I know that people hate it when you do this, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Do it.
Okay.
Do it.
Having said that, I just want to dispel any possibility of anyone thinking that I have brass. Okay, just because I was kidding, I was joking. Okay. Do you see that cat tree there?
Yeah.
That. If you were to boil my whole house down to its essence, it's that cat tree.
Love it. I love it.
So yeah, so there is no brass. So forget about that idea. Forget about it.
You ready to talk about Stephen Dimitri Giorgio, aka Cat Stevens?
I never knew his name was Stephen Dimitri Giorgio.
Do you want a little?
I am.
Do you want to? Here's a little before we get into the record. Should I do the intro? All right, so here, I'll tell you a little bit about him. Well, actually, no, let's start here. How did you, are you a huge fan? How did you get into Cat Stevens?
Yes, I am not I'm not a person who read all the notes on the back of the album about who played on what. I did always love it when there were albums that included the lyrics, because I'm a big incorrect lyric singer-alonger, always have been.
Me too.
I think I was the youngest in my family, and I believe my older sister, my sister Patty, I believe she had Tea for the Tillerman. And I think I stole it from her.
Yeah.
And because I was the youngest, and the others went to college, you know, I was stuck alone in my parents' house. And I spent hours and hours listening, not only listening to Tea for the Tillerman, but Father and Son in particular.
Yeah.
It was one of those where I would close my eyes and sing along. And I used to copy out as neatly as I could the lyrics onto pieces of paper and tape them to my notebooks so that people who saw me in school could know what my deepest feelings were. Looking back, I think I was a little on the dramatic side. But there are still... Father and Son still does kind of resonate with me.
It's great.
Probably because, you know how I said from the moment I could talk, I was ordered to listen? Well, as you may have noticed, I talk a lot.
Yeah.
And so people are always telling me to shut up.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
But it's so witty. It's so you have a zhuzh that's perfect. It makes the conversation bounce.
You know, many people did not appreciate my judge.
Wow, that's insane.
Yeah. A lot of people didn't enjoy my conversational bounce. A lot of people. You know, people often in interviews, they'll say, and I'm sure you get this all the time too, you know, were you the class clown?
Yeah.
And they always go, well, really, it depends who you ask. I think there's many people that just found me annoying. And by the way, by high school, by the time I was listening to Tea for the Tillerman, just excruciatingly dramatic. I've tried to move away from some of that behavior in this part of my life where I'm closer to the end than to the beginning.
Yeah. What are you drinking right now? Is it a little diet Pepsi action?
Whiskey. You know, I've tried to move away from the drama, but it hasn't been. No,
this is gonna rule.
Yeah,
I'm
which
so
is like the worst. I think it's. All right, don't ever tell anybody that I said this because I'll deny it.
Okay.
But I've had a chronic cough for, 30, 40 years. I think Diet Pepsi has something to do with it.
I think so too. Yeah.
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 Which is just heartbreaking.
Not Coca-Cola? No Diet Coke? Diet Coke is it always Diet Pepsi?
I prefer Diet Pepsi.
Really?
There are times where you have to do something at a pinch. Like, for example, for years, I did my own brass. You have to make concessions.
Oh, so would you? So on a scale of 1 to 10, where would you put yourself in your love
let me
for?
just show,
Yeah, please show me
that
something.
cat
Take
tree?
me.
Remember, I showed you that cat tree.
Yeah, it's great. It's a solid cat tree. Yes, I had. Yeah.
That's where I sleep. Okay, just to be clear about that, I sleep right beside Barney Fife.
Oh, I'm sorry. We're like, I sleep. I don't. It's on the other room.
Talking about my life, I enjoy it a lot more than when I'm living it.
Oh my God, yeah. Well, it's like you can. It's just however you unveil it, and you can unveil it in such a fun way. I'm telling you, dude. If somebody doesn't enjoy your conversational bounce, that's on them.
Yeah,
that is
there's
on
a lot of
them.
People who are just out and out against my judge. You know what I wonder about Cat Stevens? Like, I don't really know the meaning of the words in the songs. I think I layer on them, or layered as a kid on them, whatever were my own dramatic concerns. But I don't think I've ever really particularly understood what Cat Stevens meant. I didn't let that trouble me, but
so you hear a song and you know that there's words, and you know that some of them you'll understand. Oh, I understand the meaning of that. But for the most part, it's just kind of like floating in and out of your head, and it's just phonetic sounds to you.
No, I mean, I hear the words, but I don't always understand.
Same, yeah.
What his intent was. I have my middle daughter, who. We live in Santa Monica, California, and the best thing about the Santa Monica school system was the music program. Pretty much the rest of it you could drop kick, but the music program was fantastic.
Yeah.
And my middle daughter grew up playing the violin, and so she just listens differently than I listen. So every now and then we'll be listening to something together, like the radio or something, right? And a song will come up from the 70s, from my era. And radio back then, as you know, well, maybe you don't, you might be too young. Radio back then played the same songs over and over again every day.
Yeah.
They were, mostly top 10 radio stations, and if you missed it in 1 hour, you'd catch it in the next hour. So there were songs that I literally heard, not to mention when I would have an album and move the arm over so that it just repeated and repeated and repeated until my father would come in my room and yell at me.
Yeah.
But so there were songs that I heard literally, hundreds and hundreds of times. And one of those songs would come up on the radio when my daughter and I were in the car together. And I'd start singing along, and she'd go, "Mom, that's not the words." And I'd go, like, how the fuck do you know the words when you could have only heard that song a handful of times?
Yeah.
And for me, it's like seared into my brain. Like, so yeah, I guess I wasn't always.
Sweetheart, I am my whole career is based around me not learning the lyrics to songs, and I just make them up. I have a joke which is like, when you're doing karaoke, if you don't look at the screen, all you got to do is nail the chorus. You just have to nail the chorus. That's it, right?
No, I think you're right.
Everything.
I have a friend who is, I don't know, what is he for? Is he 40 now, maybe?
Yeah.
Who, he told me one day that his go-to song was Brandy. His karaoke song.
You're a fine girl, that one?
I'm like, how the hell do you even know Brandy? That's crazy. But yeah, he's good at it too. He does it in the right,
You need that deep voice for that song.
Do you?
Oh, yes. Brandy, you're a fine girl. You're a fine girl. It wasn't her, bubble, do. A hunkily do, but... Maybe that's not the same song. But I feel like I'm combining 3 or 4 songs.
I think maybe, but you're right. If you do it with the right enthusiasm,
dude,
it doesn't much matter.
Because I always do. It's like when you're singing "Living on a Prayer," all you need to hit is, "You said we gotta hold on to what we got." Just nail that. Everything else you can make up. So the verse, I like to go, "Tina has fibromyalgia. Frank's got diabetes. He's losing his foot. It's tough." Yeah.
So wait. Those are not the
Those are
lyrics?
not the lyrics. I know.
my gosh.
Fibromyalgia is a new thing, so it wasn't around in '86 when
Well,
it was misdiagnosed.
Here's part of the reason that you can get away with that is there is a new thing about I'm trying to think of the name of the product where the woman comes out. It's a diabetes medication, and the woman comes out into a town square where it gives the commercial gives the impression that they're shooting some sort of a music video, and she's singing about her diabetes medication. Jardiance.
Okay.
That's what it is. That's like a new thing. It's like an illness having a song of its own, which we didn't. When I was growing up, we didn't do that.
Yeah, we didn't have diseases.
We often didn't speak of such things. Certainly, we didn't sing about them in the town square.
Mesothelioma. Mesothelioma.
Either that, or let me tell you something. My chronic hacking cough video would have gone viral by now. I would be, I would be known by 3 or 4 generations.
On a scale, all right. So we already did you answer this when I said on a scale 1 to 10? Where would you put yourself and your love for Cat Stevens now? Are you still at a high 10? Are you still like has it dwindled over the years or re-listening to this?
No, it hasn't dwindled.
Yeah.
I mean, there's more and more music, obviously,
Sure.
as time goes on. There's more and more music, and so there's more and more. My flat thing that I put the iTunes right that has I try to infuse it with some modern stuff so that I seem like I'm following along, but it has a lot of the stuff that I listened to when I was growing up. So yeah, I don't think my passion for him has changed. I did not join in years ago when people were, when radio stations were telling people to, go run over their Cat Stevens albums with their cars and things like that.
Yeah.
I was never a part of that movement. I always thought the music was great. I didn't much care what he did religiously. I still have that same feeling. It was great stuff. Yeah. Plus, he was so goddamn good looking. He was one of those guys.
Yeah. Very interesting upbringing. He has a very interesting upbringing. So.
Oh, really? Because I know nothing about him other than that he, I don't know, did he become Muslim?
He did become Muslim. He did become later. But sorry. So here's a little spiel. This is for everybody out there, and then we'll dig into the record. Right. And please chime in at any point. Feel free to add or cut me off or whatever. And with a cough, definitely. And I want you to tag every sentence with a hack.
Yeah, I'm just trying to, I'm helping you reminisce about your family.
That's my mom. My mom has that cough too. And we were in Italy right when COVID hit. So February of 2020, we were in Italy. God. Remember, because it was only in Wuhan, and then it was in Italy, and we were in Italy, and my mom has that like, and people would like look at her, and I'm like, she used to smoke. Everybody, it's not COVID, all right?
For me, it's mostly allergies actually, and this is pre-COVID. I was. Once COVID hit, I always wear a mask when I'm if I'm in a store, or I'm in the airplane, or I'm in the airport, I wear a mask. I still do, because guess what? It didn't go away. I'm allergic to anything with any kind of a scent. So I was on an airplane one day, and there was a woman sitting beside me, and the second she got on, she started slathering the seat in front of her and her tray table with hand sanitizer.
Yeah.
And I hadn't even started to cough yet. But the more that stuff has such a powerful scent that I just started choking and I'm coughing. And the more I coughed, the more she slathered. And the more she slathered, the more I coughed. And finally, she called the flight attendant over and complained about me. And the flight attendant moved her to another seat.
Oh.
And I'm like, well, boy, that worked out.
Yeah, screw that lady.
And there was something about her, like, I suppose I could have just politely said, you know, ma'am, I'm allergic to that stuff. But there was something, she was so sort of, you know, she was slathering in a hostile way.
Sure.
And I sensed from the beginning that she would not appreciate my Jews.
Yeah.
And so I just, you know, I probably should have handled it better.
Either way, no. Dude, it all worked out. She got moved. You stopped coughing, and life moved on.
I had more space.
and you got to where, which was Dubuque, Iowa. Where were you going?
I can't remember anymore, but it might have been Dubuque.
All right, here we go. Let's find out a little bit about Cat Stevens. All right, so
yes,
like I said, feel free to chime in. So his real name, born Stephen Dimitri Giorgio, and if there's any Greek Cypriot people out there, they want to correct me, but he's born in London in 1948 to a Greek Cypriot father and Swedish mother, Cat. Like many of his British contemporaries and heroes, studied art before becoming enamored by the music of the era. With his new calling to play pop, he changed his name to Cat Stevens for ease and appeal. And by 1967, he was a teen idol with several hit singles and popular debut albums. He was a very good-looking man, wasn't he? Paula, he was really like... You know, he had that, like, it's like, I would have thought he was Jewish because he has that, like, you know, like the Semitic good looks, but it's also, I could see Greek and Italian or whatever as well, but.
Yeah, and that hair.
Oh, the great hair.
The locks.
Great hair.
Yeah, definitely. You know, I don't know if guys did this, but girls, when we listened to albums, I mean, as I said, I didn't used to read all the details about who played on what and who the sound engineer was. I don't know it, but I spent hours with artists that had their picture on the cover.
Yeah.
Just staring, and he had a very stareable face.
Very stareable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was. In fact, I glanced again last night, and I was up for an extra hour. It's a terrible face.
I was gonna say, Peter. I was gonna tell Adam to put the picture of Cat Stevens up there, but just you know, we don't have to get to it. We have more to talk about. I don't want us to get silent and stare at a photo together.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Then we would just go totally silent.
All right. By his oh, there he is. Look at that. Oh my God. Yeah. Drop dead gorgeous.
Yeah. See. Right. Yeah.
So his second album didn't do as well, but shortly after in 1969, Cat caught tuberculosis and almost died. It took him a year of hospitalization and convalescing to recover and changed his perspective on life and what he wanted his musical output to be. He wrote over 40 songs in this period, which were more introspective and thoughtful and in the folk singer-songwriter style that was gaining popularity. You seem shocked. You didn't know that he had almost died.
I didn't know that. But, you know, it reminds me a little bit of Trump, and I'll tell you why. Because when Trump was in the hospital with COVID, do you remember that he went to that, meeting room and had himself filmed signing papers?
Yeah.
Do you remember?
Yeah.
But then when some journalists went tight on the paper, and it turned out it was just blank.
Yeah.
It was just signing blank papers. But so, okay, that's where they are not alike. But the part where they both felt like writing during their hospital stay was the same.
Yeah.
Apparently, Cat Stevens was actually producing material.
He was actually, and his best work too. Not like Trump was just writing his name, practicing his cursive,
which may have been his best work.
Yeah, who knows?
But I think I'm gonna, it's not a competition, but I think I'm gonna say Cat Stevens had more substance.
For sure.
Than what he was. I wonder if that's where "But I Might Die" came from, which is really, it's a fairly stark. Right, but I might die tonight. It's not nuanced.
No, it's not. It is not.
But I might die tonight. That was one that I loved, by the way.
Yeah.
Yes, because I came up with this concept probably mid-high school, where I felt like I really shouldn't do stuff that I don't much feel like doing.
Yeah.
Because, and this would include my education, because I might die.
Yeah.
And what did I do with my life? shit I didn't even want to do. So yeah, I think I probably took Cat Stevens.
Oh my God.
Like if we had sat down and talked, I don't think he would have said to me, yeah, stop going to school.
No, he wouldn't have. But he would have said, if you get tuberculosis, grab a pen and a piece of paper and start writing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I manipulated his words to fit my needs. That's what I did.
Sure. All right, so while his label welcomed him back, they wanted more of his previous pop songs, so he made exorbitant and expensive production and orchestral demands to get out of his new record contract and then signed with a new label. He convinced the label to sign former Yardbirds bassist Paul Samwell Smith as his producer, and Samwell Smith introduced him to guitarist Alan Davies, who became Cat's longtime musical partner. The first album with this new team and new musical direction, Mona Bone Jaon, the nickname of Cat's penis. Yes, really. It's
wow.
Mana Bone Jaon. Swear to God.
Didn't he do a song or an album with that title?
That's the album title. That's the album title is Mama Bone Jaon, and it was about his dick. Well, it's like that's his name for his dick. Well received.
You know,
go ahead.
I did, of course, the comedy. I don't know why you call it a special, because not really, but that's what they call them. I did the comedy special, Cats, Cops, and stuff. It never occurred to me to name it after any of my private parts. It could have been.
Would you have called it? Wait, is there anyone in particular you would have called it? You would have had a name for?
Nipples and vag. I just. Wow! I can't believe he had a nickname. See, guys do that though. Guys have. I think because in general the penis is more active. It's more a part of your life. Yeah. Than a vagina is. The vagina doesn't rise and fall, for example. It's just, it's there.
It's there. It doesn't, it's a mountain. It's still, it's like,
right. And so
penis is more of a water element,
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot more, it moves. It's almost like a separate being. And some guys think of it that way, and clearly Cat Stevens did. Wow, no, I remember that name, but
well, now you know, and I hope it didn't ruin it. But that record, though, was well received and gave him his first success in America. It was quickly followed up by this record.
Wait, what songs were on that record?
Hold on, let me pull it up right now, see if I can find it. So on Mona Bone Jaon.
Wow.
I mean, here's the thing is, I'm not a huge Cat Stevens fan. This is the first record I've ever listened to all the way through.
So on that album, Lady Darbanville, Pop Star, Maybe You're Right, Kathmandu, Trouble, I Wish, I Think I See the Light, and Motabone Jaon. Fill My Eyes, Time, and Lily White.
Yeah, this was part of the catalog of songs that he came up with while he was bed rested.
Trouble was in Harold and Maude, wasn't it? I think it was. Again, not. I don't think I ever processed what the words of the song intended to mean, but a great song, and great for Harold and Maude.
Oh, guys, I got some big news. I'm going to get credited. They turned our hot water off here in our building because of something with Con Ed, and now we're going to get credited. So my rent's going to be cheaper this month. Big news in Joshua.
That is big news.
Big news. I just got the email. Isn't that it came through?
Wow.
Sorry, I don't know why I brought that up. All right, where was I? Penis.
Okay.
So he follows it up with T for the Tillerman, which was his first of two consecutive triple platinum records. After considerable success in 1977, Cat devoted his life to the Muslim faith after a near-death drowning incident in Malibu the year before.
Oh my gosh, that's twice he almost died.
So that was actually, I was talking to our friend Morty Coyle, who helps me write the show, and Morty he said that it was I don't know if you remember one of the episodes of Curb Your Enthusiasm where he was like in the water and he's like keep getting hit by waves and hit by waves. Well, that was basically what's happening to him in the water, and he's starting to drown, and he says, you know, to the universe, he's like, if you get me through this, I'll devote my life to you, God. And a wave hit him and he finds his way back to shore, and he changed his name to Yusuf Islam, and then after a final album in 78, turned his back on the pop music world. He even denied his music from being used on soundtracks. Some controversy that would take too long to explain happened in the late 80s. That you guys can Google, but by the late 90s,
it was probably another near-death thing. The guy just keeps almost dying.
Now it was if I'm not mistaken, it was the Salman Rushdie. Do you remember that guy wrote the Satanic Verses, I think it was called, and it's about the Islam, and he said something basically saying like, the fatwa, I don't wish death on anybody except for Salman Rushdie, or it was something like that. It was a little much from Cat Stevens, from Wild from Wild World Guy, from fucking Mona Bone Jacone.
Well, you know, it may not have been him who said it. It might have been his penis.
Might have been Mama Joan Capone.
He might have just been taking dictation for his penis, and then that is or translating. He was translating for his penis.
But I like dictate. Okay. Dictation
all
works.
Right, so so maybe not a great thing to say there. But he didn't write a song about it, did he?
I don't think so. No.
There we go. Okay.
So softens his stance, started allowing his music to be used in various projects again. In the early 2000s, he returned to secular music scene after the Manamam Yusuf. So he is back. He is making music. I actually just watched a video of him doing Father and Sons with the guy from Pearl Jam. I can't think of his fucking name.
Eddie Vedder,
yeah. It's incredible if you've never seen it. But let's talk about some of the songs on here. It opens with Where Do the Children Play? And this is about society's priorities and overexpansion at the ecological risk to the people on the planet, represented by children having no place to play. Thoughts on this song, or?
That if he had written that now, well, he wouldn't have written it now, because now he would understand that they don't. They just use those screens. They're fine. That's all they do.
Yeah.
They just Mark Zuckerberg, all those people. What's the thing Mark Zuckerberg wants to do? The stupid, metaverse where you have.
The metaverse, yeah.
Where you have a thing that you pretend is you. So Mark Zuckerberg was probably very influenced by Where the Children Play.
Sure.
Just rescuing us from ourselves.
You seem to have navigated all the new technologies and platforms that are necessary to stay current. You with Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. Are they a necessary evil, or do you feel that they're a useful tool?
I don't know. I don't know. My manager, it's always telling me that I need to, have more of a presence online. And I started on Twitter, pretty early on. And I still, I guess, kind of enjoy messing around with it. Whether it actually puts butts in seats in terms of ticket sales, I don't know. I would have to interview each audience member to know for sure. It's just really hard to measure. And I'm not even sure that all the numbers because of the bots and all that stuff. Like, I know that I have probably a lot of Russian bots that follow me, and I've been trying to get them to come to my shows. But I think even the numbers on the machine are not factual.
I know, right? Yeah.
And why would they even need to be?
How do you feel about social media's impact on kids growing up with them?
I think it's awful.
Yeah.
I think it's awful. My son was an electronics addict because I put him in front of a computer when he was 3 because I was told that this was somehow giving him a leg up. That these were this was the future, and and I had no idea, of course, at the time that it causes addiction, and that it actually affects the matter in the brain. All those things I learned as we went along.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like the cigarette story. The companies knew. The companies were doing it on purpose. And at the time, once I realized, oh my gosh, this is addictive for him and it's changed his behavior, and I would try to get the schools not to give him any assignments on the computer, blah, blah, blah. Nobody listens to me. This was, I'm trying, I don't know, how many years ago would this have been? Like at least 10, 15 years ago. Mm-hmm. And no one listened. Now they're starting to recognize it.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's, you know, it's a little late for some people.
You know, it's like I see it with my nieces and my nephew. It's like, especially my nephew, it's like that's all he wants to do is watch YouTube videos. And I mean, he plays sports and stuff, but it's only because his parents, my sister and her husband, force them. Not force, but they're like they're like, no, you're playing an instrument and you're playing a sport.
Yeah.
And I love that.
What you find, my son was a good musician. He played the drums when he played the drums for 10 years, but it was a battle. And then in school, he took the cello. And I think that he genuinely enjoyed it once he was doing it. But the problem was what happens with electronics, and I find this in my own life too, which is that when he was in elementary school, you know, he had to practice the cello 20 minutes a day. Well, those were the most arduous 20 minutes. It was just hell. It was pulling teeth to get those 20 minutes out of him. But if I allowed him to use the computer for an hour, well, somehow the hour wasn't long enough. So what I learned was there's cello minutes and there's computer minutes, and they're different.
Sure.
Cello minutes are just by their very nature longer than computer minutes. I recently. So I was one of the early people railing against this stuff. And again, as I said, nobody listened and nobody listened and nobody listened. But I did do a CBS Sunday morning piece, just me talking into a camera about the problem many, many years ago. And it caused the various people in this movement saw that, some people saw that piece. And people would reach out to me and ask me to come, you know, speak or do a video or somehow help them in their battle against, you know, trying to protect children from these devices. So just recently, I was in Vermont, and there was a group of like literally 4 women have an organization where they're trying to get at least the phones out of the classroom.
Yeah.
And so she reached out to me and asked if I would come speak to the education committee of the Vermont legislature. And as it turned out, there was a big snowstorm and I couldn't get there, so I had to do it via Zoom. So I get introduced by the chairman of the Vermont Education Committee in the Vermont legislature. And he's kind of a, you know, jovial guy, right? And he's like, well, we have a guest to speak to, you know, and she found out about the Vermont winners, didn't she?
Yeah.
And then he introduces me, and I had 30 minutes, and I started to talk, and there were points in what I was saying because what I was telling them was the story of what happened to my son. And there are points at which I was literally like choking back tears telling this story. I get through the whole thing and I say, look, I really don't even know if I'm at 30 minutes or not. I have no idea. I don't have prepared remarks. I'm just telling you my son's story. And he goes, well, we do have to take a vote now, so we are going to have to go. And he goes, but I hope your story has a happy ending. It was the most dismissive thing he could possibly have said. And I thought, okay, either this guy has kids in school and he doesn't pay any attention to them, or he has no kids.
Yeah.
Because if you have kids in school, then by God, you see the problem.
Yeah.
At this point in our lives, in this year, what is it, 2024. Everyone that has kids in school can tell, like, this isn't a good idea. But anyways, I digress.
But as a song though, Where Do the Children Play? Beautiful song. We can agree on that, right?
Where Do the Children? Yes, it's a beautiful song. It's not one that I gravitated to.
Really?
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's dive into, how about Hard-Headed Woman?
I wanted to be the hard-headed woman.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wasn't it about crying on his shirt or something?
Let me see if I can pull up the little skadoodle
I think there's
about
lyrics
it.
where it's something about crying on his shirt. The hard-headed woman crying on his shirt. I think that's the. Maybe that was
silver-tongued troubadours are often found singing about their search for the perfect woman, describing her as a beautiful, compassionate, kind, mysterious, or any number of other alluring objectives. But hard-headed is not description you'll see on many dating profiles. Cat Stevens may have been onto something, though. The hard woman he's looking for will stand up for herself and push him to the best man he can be. It might not be a storybook romance, but it's more likely to endure. And who wouldn't swipe right on that? Is that the direction you swipe? I don't even know. You do swipe right. Right is the swipe. Yes.
That's a hard-headed woman. You can actually go on a hard-headed woman's site now. You
probably can.
Yeah.
When has being hard-headed about something benefited you?
Well, I'm often not. I tend to be pretty easy. I'm a pushover on most things. But I did. Okay, I can think of one. On the HBO show Cats, Cops, and Stuff, which was a comedy special that I did many years ago, when they first hired me, they said, now in fairness to HBO, this was many, many years ago, but they said, okay, we want Paula to do her stand-up, but she can't talk to anyone in the audience. And I said to the management that I had at the time, I was like, well, then why are they hiring me? I said, that just doesn't make sense to me. That, like, hiring me and then telling me not to do the thing that I do, which is, for those who don't know, for listeners who don't know, my favorite part of the show, it's not the whole show, but my favorite part of any show that I do is just talking to individuals in the audience. I do the time-honored, where are you from, what do you do for a living? And in this way, little biographies emerge. And I use that to set my sails. So I don't really have like a set. I have 45 years of material rattling around in my head somewhere. And somebody will say something when I'm talking to them that sometimes reminds me of a piece of material, and I may do it. Or just it's a conversation that's unique just to that night, and I make jokes, but they're not prepared jokes. And this at the time obviously was like a big deal to get this hour-long special, but I stuck to my guns. I said I can't. It just doesn't make sense to me to do it unless they allow. And the reason I think it matters that it was a long time ago and not now is technology. The technology now would pick up people's voices better in the audience. But what it meant was they had to hang microphones from the ceiling, and they had to two guys with boom mics, those huge fuzzy microphones. At the end of a long stick. And they had these two different guys that once I found somebody that I was going to talk to, then that boom guy had to haul ass across the theater and stick the boom mic out of camera shot, but in front of the person that was talking. And I insisted that that they do that. And they did.
And they did, and it worked. And it worked great.
And it did work.
It did work.
It did work.
Good.
I bet you there's, and I also insisted that my oldest daughter, who has cerebral palsy, walk. I stood fast on that. I said, yeah.
She
was
walk.
a big crawler. When she crawled for a long time, and people used to let her do it. And I'm like, no, 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 no. And boy, did you have to look like an ass to do that.
It's so funny. All right, Wild World. This is the song. This and Father and Son. This is the one that I heard first. This was wrote this searching for peace and happiness in a crazy world. There's some speculation that much of the song was a message to Patty D. Arbonville, an actress he had been dating, who inspired the song Lady D. Arbonville. Wait, I'm saying that wrong. Arbonville.
Barnville.
Arbonville.
That sounds like maybe her nickname for,
Yeah. Stevens cleared it up in 2009, explaining that it was only about his journey into the wild world. Stevens said, I was trying to relate to my life. I was at the point where it was beginning to happen, and I was myself going into the world. I'd done my career before, and I was sort of warning myself to be careful this time around because it was happening. It was not me writing about something specific, although other people may have informed the song, but it was more about me and about losing touch with home and reality.
See, it turns out that I'm not the only one who just layered on whatever I thought to his lyrics. I mean, I think we all do that with any songs.
Well, there's some stuff in there that's almost can be considered misogynistic too. It's like he's almost like, isn't he? He's like, he's like, you'll never find somebody. He doesn't say you'll never find somebody like me, but it's like, I have to pull the lyrics up, but it's very like, wild
Well,
world.
keep in mind the year that it came out. It was a world of misogyny. I mean, it's mostly a world of misogyny now, but it's certainly improved. But then you were the odd man out, I think, as a guy, if you didn't hold some misogynistic viewpoints.
Yeah, is it this song or is it another one? It doesn't make a difference, but either way, it's like it's definitely, it feels like a love song. My question to you is: Have you ever dealt? Because like some people, like I said, some people have pointed out about the sexism and misogyny in these lyrics. Have you ever dealt with sexism in the comedy industry from the beginning until now?
Oh, sure. I didn't pay a lot of attention to it. There still are the sort of silly Jerry Lewis, women aren't funny thing, which I think Jerry Lewis would say towards the end of his life, just to get some attention. Because it's a stupid thought. It's a stupid idea. But when I started, there was always the thing where every now and then a club would do like a women's night of comedy. And, I profited from that sometime. I mean, if I didn't join in, well, for example, HBO had Women of the Night. Well, and that was produced by the management company that handled me. If I didn't say yes to that, then there was nothing for me, right? If I didn't go, well, sure, that sounds like fun. And it was fun, actually. But I don't like.
Did I lose you guys? There they go.
There, wait. Hold on. I have to, wait. There's a cat trying to chew on a wire. There. I think I've taken control. There was a night. Well, I would also occasionally get propositioned by club guys. And by the way, really skanky club guys. Just gross.
Yeah.
And there was one in particular that was, I had, turned him down as politely as I could. And I was 20, I think, and just I had just arrived in San Francisco from Boston, and one night, so I turned him down, but he did hire me another night and at the end of the night, the way we were paid, the ticket price to get into a show was pretty low back then.
Yeah.
So it might have been $10 maybe, if that. And it was all cash. Nobody, it was all cash. So he went to pay me at the end of the night, this guy.
Yeah.
And it was, he paid me a big stack of, I said a big stack of cash. It was mostly ones. And there were even, I think there was even like some silver in there, some change. And when he went to pay me, he said something about the fact that I hadn't gone out with him. And he then threw all the money on the floor. And I had to crawl around on the floor picking it up in order to get paid, which I did.
Wow.
And then I left. And there were, at that time, San Francisco had a great open mic scene. It had a great comedy club scene. It was really one of the drivers of the popularity of stand-up comedy around the country. Lots of comics came from different parts of the country, including me, because I started in Boston. Lots of people came from different parts of the country to be a part of the San Francisco comedy scene. And there were so there were tons of us waiting to get on. And it's not like I could just say, well, okay, I'm not going to go on at that club. Because that would have cut by a third my opportunity for stage time. And that's how you develop as a comic. There is no other way. You can't just do it at home in your living room and then trot out a show.
Yeah, right.
So it was one of those things that you just sort of put up with. I did not have to put up with it in the same way that somebody like a Phyllis Diller or Joan Rivers, I'm sure.
Sure.
Did. They were, long ahead of me. And I don't separate the world by male and female for the most part, and never did in terms of talents.
Yeah. No, completely. I don't, I'd love to say that it's changed, but I still feel like it's always going to be like that in
we
Hollywood.
Are shooting backwards right now.
Yeah.
We are it's just, the whole, women have to get to the polls in November and vote the shit out of these people that are trying to control women's bodies and women's lives.
Sure.
I mean, because and by the way, guys, I know that a lot of men want to support that idea as well. They're coming for contraception. So it affects all of us. It doesn't affect just one gender.
Yeah, you're right. You're 100%.
And it's weird.
It is
weird. It's just plain weird.
It is. It's a little ridiculous. Speaking of contraception, father and son. So prior to
now when you say father and son, I think of Mike Johnson and his son monitoring each other's porn use.
Ooh, baby, it's a wild internet. Prior to contracting tuberculosis and almost dying, Kat conceived of a musical called Revolucia. Yes, Revolucia. Or Revolucia. Because it's spelled like Russia. Yeah, because Revolucia, which took place during the Russian Revolution. This was the song between...
I'm glad it didn't. I'm glad this project didn't
go anywhere. Yeah,
because boy, that sounds bad.
That's terrible. It was the song. This was the song between the conversation farmer, the conservative farmer father, and his son who wished to join the revolution. The musical fell through, but this song survived and is one of the most beloved and poignant tunes in his career. If I'm not mistaken, this is like, it's been voted. I think this is like in like top 100. Yeah. So isn't it? Am I missing this somewhere? Isn't it like voted? Oh yeah, here it is. This 408. Rolling Stone magazine's 2021 list of 500 greatest songs. So yeah, this is an important song.
And again, I had zero idea that it was about a farmer and that it had anything to do with the Russian Revolution.
I know.
Zero idea.
I know.
It spoke to me as a teenage girl in my bedroom in Sudbury, Massachusetts. In fact, I left home very early, and this song was like in the back of my head all the time.
Were your parents supportive of you choosing comedy as a career path?
I don't know, and people used to ask me that all the time when I was first starting out, and I would say to them, I have no idea. I never asked them.
You did it, yeah.
And I used to tell that story to my kids too, because I said you have to do what you want, what you think is the right thing. I go, don't, if you want my opinion, I'm sure happy to tell it to you, but you don't have to listen to me about that.
Yeah.
It's, again, all Cat Stevens influenced, all father and son influenced, all layered on. Turned out it was about a Russian farmer and his revolutionary son. Had no idea. But that struggle. Just before COVID hit, I saw a documentary about Fiddler on the Roof. And there was a conversation in the documentary where they were talking about, and I don't know if they mean after the play took off or after the movie was made. I don't know. But there was in Japan, a Japanese director made a production of Fiddler on the Roof in Japan. And the guys who made it here in the United States went over to Japan to see this production. And they're talking to the Japanese director, and he says to them, are Americans able to understand a story that's so Japanese? And which is just such a funny thing to say, given that it's not a Japanese story. But the point is, every culture has that same struggle with, the next generation and what was tradition and how people were supposed to behave, and the new generation not behaving that way. So it could have, obviously, the Russian farmer revolutionary story somehow still applied to goofy me sitting in my bedroom, which, by the way, my furniture was painted lavender. Sitting in my bedroom in Sudbury, Massachusetts, somehow the Russian farmer revolutionary story applied to me. Go figure.
That's so funny. Yeah, it's definitely it's not what I thought, but it's definitely, definitely has now you can't not think Bolshevik when you hear that. So a former art student, Kat painted the cover for this and the following album, Teaser and the Fire Cat. What is something you would have been happy doing if you didn't find comedy?
Well, I used to bust tables for a living, and I was really good at it, and I did enjoy it, but I don't think I would have liked it for my lifetime.
Yeah, your whole life is busting tables.
I'm held back in a lot of professions because I just talk so much. For example, I'm a gifted mime, but I have a tendency to blurt out, "I'm in a box," and that ruins it. I had at one point, this is true. At one point I thought that I might work in hospice because I don't know, because I'm not that dramatic about death, and because I thought it might be a good energy to have in a home with somebody who's dying and around the loved ones. And then I realized we would literally never hear the dying person's last words.
It would just be you talking.
I would cut them off. And someone would go like, "Tell my estranged husband." And I would say, I never got married, and let me tell you why. So I know that, like anybody else trying to survive, I would, were I not able to do comedy, have to simply do another job whether I loved it or not. But in terms of stuff that I have passion for, I don't know. When COVID hit, and I thought, shit, we're never going to be able to be in theaters again. I tried to get a job at the grocery store down the street, the one that I shop at, and I applied for work there. And I went in maybe a week or two later, because you have to apply online, which is just another world for me. But I went in a week or two later, and I asked to speak with the manager, and I said, yeah, I was wondering if you got my application. And she said, yeah. She said, oh, I feel terrible. She said, we just hired like 12 people, and so we don't need anybody. And I was like, oh, okay, well, is it okay if I check back sometime? And she said, yeah. And I walked away, and I thought, well, you know what? Since I'm here, I'll just, buy some groceries. And so I'm pushing my cart through an aisle, and I hear over the PA, shoppers, do you want to work at the Vons? And so that means that they didn't want me in particular. That's what that means. And they didn't say it on the PA. They didn't go, not you, Paula. But anyway, so I don't know that I could do anything else. What about you? What would you do?
I don't know. I mean, I was probably something still in entertainment, but it was like behind the scenes more. I worked as a PA for many years, and then I became a production coordinator. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'd be a good salesman. I'm good at selling. I've sold a few things. I've sold a TV show and a podcast, and just so I think it's just a matter of just getting people excited, and getting people to feel that energy. And it's like I can, I'm very, even my stand up is like that. It's just like, come on, let's have fun. And
all right, let me just say that it is not hard to sell a podcast. And you know why I know that?
Why?
Because there's 4 million of them.
Yeah, but not all of them are making money, though.
Yeah, but that doesn't, yeah. But that's the dirty little secret about podcasting. Is there's the 1%, and then there's the rest of us that are just sharing the same cookie.
Sure, 100%. All right, let's see.
I'm lucky because I have zhuzh. But
you do have zhuzh. All right. So, longtime guitar accompanist Alan Davis was by his side again when Yusuf returned to secular music. Who is your Alan Davies?
Well, I work alone. So, how do you mean that?
I don't know. Do you have anybody that was your manager, your agent, or do you have a person you write with, or? No,
I've had the same manager though for 30 years. A woman named Bonnie Burns, and she's terrific, and we do work well together. So yeah, I suppose she would be my Alan Davies, I guess. But I don't, years and years ago, there was a great comic in San Francisco named Jim Samuels.
Yeah.
And he was a very funny guy. And a prolific writer. He had sort of organized, he had a very organized routine. And I never did. But one time we were working together at a club and staying, in the comedy condo, as they used to call it. And he says to me, I have this way of writing where what we do is we set a timer, and for 30 minutes, you open up your notebook and you tell me your ideas, and I will help you, with, adding on to your ideas. And then whatever we do together is yours. And then for the next 30 minutes, I open up my notebook and we, work on that stuff, and whatever we come away with is mine. And I said, well, that sounds like fun. That sounds great. So I think we actually started with his. And he had some terrific stuff, and I added on to some of his things. And it was really a successful 30-minute writing session, which I've really never done before with somebody else. And then we go to mine, and my ideas were so unformed that I was just too embarrassed to explain it to him. I just felt like, nah, not that. No, I don't think. So in the end, we didn't do anything with my stuff. I just felt bad about myself for 30 minutes. So yeah, I don't do a lot of writing with others.
You don't. You're great. You have nothing to. What are you gonna do at this point? Who cares?
It's all for me. It's all zhuzh.
It's all zhuzh.
I don't. It's not that I don't have jokes. I do have jokes, but some of it just. it's more of a, it's more of a feeling, I think. I don't know. Maybe I'm giving myself more credit than I'm.
No, trust me, I get that. So speaking of feelings, a movie that brought many people feelings, Harold and Maude, is 1971's Hal Ashbury cult classic that Cat provided the soundtrack to, which included 4 songs off of this record. It was the merging of 2 talented nonconformists at the top of their games. It remains beloved by a specific and devoted type of audience. Now, you mentioned this earlier about the crowd work, but you do have a devoted fan base, and for decades has been a large part of the mastery of your crowd work, which has really built a connection. How did that come about? Was it something, because I mean, crowd work now is like, that's how you get social media followers, but it's like, have you ever, one, how did it come about? And 2, has there ever been a show where it just nothing worked? They didn't give you a shit?
Well, I mean, surely there has been, but generally speaking, see, I work theaters, so I'm working to a group of people that came out to see me specifically.
Yeah.
And
you don't do you have a home club in Los Angeles? Do you do like Comedy and Magic,
no.
or where do you don't perform at all in LA?
No.
Why not? Not even the Comedy Store? Like, why wouldn't you go?
I think because I used, when I was young, I was an improv. I went to the Improv in Hollywood.
Yeah.
And then I had kids, and so there were no, I mean, I used to be out at a club somewhere, whether it was in Iowa. I'd be gone for 5 nights, and then I'd come home, and the couple nights that I had off, I would spend at the Improv in Hollywood, whether I was on stage there or not. And I have such fond memories of that. They were hanging out at the Improv in Hollywood was so damn much fun. I don't know that I ever did anything particularly stirring on their stage, but just being there and being a part of that group was really, really, really fun. But then, I had kids and there were no free nights, and I moved to theaters, thank goodness. But there were no free nights because if I wasn't away working, I had to be, home with my family.
Yeah.
And, and happy to be so. And so I just got out of the habit of going to places like that. And I do like a 2-hour show. And I've never known what to do with like the 20 minutes that you get at the Improv or whatever it is, at the showcase clubs. I'm never sure. Like, I'm just never quite sure how to use that time. I kind of toy with the idea of going back now that my kids are all adults. And it might be fun. I remember one time I was in New York a couple years ago, and I thought, I'm going to go to a club. That's what I'm going to do. And I went to the, Gotham City, where I had been to do something years before that. And somewhere in my silly imagination, I had this idea that I was going to walk into a club where all my old brethren were, that I'd hang out with Judy Gold, or that, that I'd bump into people that I knew. I knew no one. I felt so alien. It wasn't fun at all. Plus, I got hit by a bicycle on my way there. So I was a little brain-addled as well, because, boy, that's a shocking thing to have happen.
I love it. All right, what do we got? What's last? All right, how about this? In 2002, the Flaming Lips released a song titled Fight Test that sounded musically similar to Father and Son. Although their producer pointed this out, Flaming Lips writer and frontman Wayne Coyle claimed he was unaware of the mistaken plagiarism and released it. Yusuf won 50% of Fight Test royalties in an uncontested lawsuit, and Coyle publicly apologized to Yusuf. Have you ever fought for something that maybe turned out wasn't the best choice for you?
Meaning?
I don't know, in career or life or anything. I don't know.
You mean have I ever done stuff in my career that I regret? Is that what you mean?
No, I think, have you ever fought for something that maybe, well, have you ever fought for something that in actuality you're like, I wish I wouldn't have fought for that?
Okay, well, who in that story fought for something that they wish they hadn't fought for?
You did. You fought.
No, wait, in the story that you just told about
I don't know. Morty, my friend Morty wrote this, and now I wish I wouldn't have asked.
Well, there. So that's what ended up happening.
We can edit.
No, no, I haven't had like big fights.
Yeah.
I'm not a, I get ripped off pretty easily.
Really?
Pretty much by everyone.
Really?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, it's a little known sad fact. Yeah, I feel like I walk around with like a big, take shit from me sign on my back. And in the end, I consider myself the luckiest performer in the world. I have, a terrific audience that I love playing to. I've been able to do it for 45 years. I hope I get, I want to be, obviously, I'm not ever going to be as famous or as beloved as Tony Bennett, but I want to be, in terms of longevity, the Tony Bennett of stand-up comedy. It is a joyous pursuit. Not every part of the business, for sure, and not the travel, but the part on stage is, it's joyous.
It's the best.
That's why so many people want to do it. That's why, they can actually, poor nowadays open micers actually pay sometimes to get on stage. That's insane.
I know.
It's like paying Elon Musk's stupid $8 for his dumb blue check. Like, no, I'm not paying. Like, wait a minute, I'm providing the. No, that doesn't sound right. But I do feel like just so lucky to get to do what I do, and it is probably the audience is my best friend, which I'm sure is a terribly unhealthy thing to say, but it really is, and I recognize it more and more as time goes on. I have to confess that just before COVID hit, I may have, and I'm saying I may have, it's a possibility that I complained about the travel. Maybe I did. But then came, 15 months of no work. And you can put me in the fucking overhead compartment. I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
I'll ride on the wheel thing that people keep dying trying to do. I love being with the audience and being able to talk about the things that are hard. And as it turns out, most things are. I love being able to talk about the things that are difficult and laugh about it with other people. It's the most amazing thing that nature has given us.
It really is.
It's healing. It strengthens you. You feel more like a human being because it turns out, oh, guess what? I'm not the only one. We're all coping with that same thing. It's just part of life. And the truth is, when I'm struggling during the day, just, privately in my own life, it's not like I'm throwing my head back and roaring with laughter about it. It's not until I go share it somewhere that I go, oh my God, yeah, it just feels so good.
Totally. All right, let's wrap this up. Before we get into the final questions, I just want to thank you for coming on. This is it's such a treat. I'm such a huge fan, and you're just awesome. So thank you for being
I'm very
who you are.
Flattered. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Yeah, I'm glad that I was able to feature my chronic cough for you.
Oh,
because
my God.
A lot of people say, what cough? And now
And
you
then
know.
Oh, no, we hear it.
That cough.
What's your favorite song on this record?
Father and Son.
Least favorite song on this record?
I think the Lisa thing, that one about the lonely woman or something.
Sad Lisa?
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, Lisa. Yeah, I don't. I guess I'm too selfish for my heart to go out to Sad Lisa.
Yeah. Could you make love to this record?
Oh, you mean while it plays in the background?
Yeah.
No, I If I was going to have sex, and I'm not, but if I was, it would have to be spoken word, maybe even instructional.
Okay. What would be your elevator pitch to get someone to listen to this record?
What would be? Well, I would say I would sing a little bit of Father and Son, but that might be a turnoff. Well, I guess if I was talking to a young person in the elevator,
yeah.
If I was making an elevator pitch to a young person, I would say it was part of the soundtrack of the 70s.
For sure.
Sometimes kids like to know, like, what was it? What was it like then? And, just like we do with any era that we weren't a part of.
Yeah.
And it definitely was. I mean, he was huge.
Huge. And I mean, a lot of the music that we listen to today is all because of these little morsels that he laid and his songwriting and it's influenced so many other people. So it's definitely, it's not dated. It is the 70s, but it definitely still translates till today. So.
I think it does.
Yeah, for sure.
I definitely.
It's got, it's got? It's got zhuzh.
It's got zhuzh. It's got bounce.
It's got bounce. It's got zhuzh. Promote away. Anything you want to promote, Paula?
Well, I do always like to tell people about my podcast, which is called Nobody Listens to Paula Poundstone. I never describe it very well. But it's a comedy podcast. Yeah. That's its main goal. We usually have someone on who has real information to share about something that's important to adult life. But mostly and then we make jokes. But it's mostly just, silliness.
I bet it's listen to it. If Paula watch Cops, Cats and Stuff.
Cops and Stuff. But you know what? It's not my place to say.
I keep fucking it up, don't I?
Yeah. Sometimes you put the cops before the cats, and
it's cats. Cats is first.
Cats is first. Cats, Cops and Stuff. Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Well, you probably enjoyed Tillerman for the tea.
Dude, you rule. Please come back on. This was so much fun.
I hope you'll let me. It was really fun. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, darling.